In a world of monsters and magic, men and mutants, politics and plots, you are a Witcher, an individual charged with protecting the realm of men from those that would do them harm. From a young age you are trained in the ways of combat, gain knowledge of the beasts that roam the world, and acquire a mastery of alchemy, until you are ultimately prepared to sacrifice your body, altering it through mutation, to make you faster, stronger, and better equipped to face the evils of the world.
Farewell.
Lords, grant me patience.
Geralt of Rivia, the character you play as, was a legendary Witcher, perhaps remembered most for successfully removing a Striga curse from a lovely princess. The problem is, he died. Now, several years later, he has somehow come back from the dead, stumbling around a forest, lost, confused, and with no memory. Thankfully, some old friends discover you and return you to the Witcher stronghold, which houses the last few Witchers of the world. It seems that, while Witchers are desired for their monster hunting abilities and knowledge, humans, possessed of a hatred for others, have hunted you down in the past, leaving scant few remaining.
Greetings, Witcher. I've heard a lot of good things about your kind.
That's rare. Usually people treat me like a leper.
Not in my house. When I was a child, I heard many tales of a Witcher who saved my grandfather's life in exchange for a silver penny.
That must have been a while back. I'm Geralt.
While Witchers are hated for being mutants, ingesting mutagens that give them lightning-fast reflexes capable of intercepting an arrow mid-flight, or cat's eyes for seeing in the dark, but also come with certain downsides, such as making them sterile, or in Geralt's case, causing one's hair to turn white. The enemy that attacks the Witcher's stronghold isn't motivated by some xenophobic rage. This enemy is after those same mutagens for his own nefarious purposes. When the dust settles, things don't look good for the Witchers. There were only a handful of them to begin with, but now their numbers have shrunk further, and the mutagens which are needed to make more have been stolen. The remaining Witchers scatter across the continent in search of that what was taken from them, and a little revenge.
We'll see.
Your courage isn't lacking, Witcherette. We'll see how you fare after Azar gets you.
That's just the prologue for this massive 5-chapter adventure. As Geralt, you head towards the city of Vizima in Temeria, wherein you had once saved the king's daughter from that Striga curse. It seems there are plenty of evils that still haunt this part of the world, and it will require a skilled Witcher to set things right. You'll begin on the outskirts of town where a particularly nasty hellbeast is terrorizing the townsfolk. To stop it, and determine how it was summoned in the first place, you have to do a bit of detective work, asking people questions, exploring all those types of places you've been told to ignore, and doing whatever else is asked of you so you can make your way into the sealed-off city, where you hope to find more information about the organization Salamandra, those that attacked the Witcher's stronghold. There is plenty to this game. The main quest line is quite impressive, but that's not all you'll be tasked with. From your typical collection quests, to others that the game will never even tell you about, such as killing 2 special trophy monsters during each chapter of the game to be rewarded with a nice new sword at the end of the game. There is plenty of additional content that either rewards you outright or fills in the gaps of the Witcher's world, including information that can be gained by tracking down those that knew Geralt prior to his passing. You'll almost want a guide so you'll have a heads up of who you can bribe, who you can challenge to a drinking contest to unlock more information, who is a gambler, or who will let you in the side door if you have the right ring equipped. In this way, The Witcher is a pretty huge RPG.
Here's 600 orens.
Farewell.
When you're not simply running from point to point looking for clues about who killed that ghost that's haunting the nearby field, you'll find yourself engaged in plenty of combat. Mechanics-wise, combat is pretty simple, since you just click on a target to attack it. Though, if you time it right, you can chain your attacks for even more damage. You'll eventually end up with 2 different swords, one steel, one silver, as well as 2 other sidearms. The silver sword is used for the more traditional monsters, such as the various ghouls and vampires you'll find in crypts, or the drowned ones and other water-type creatures that haunt lakes and streams. The steel sword is for the no less monstrous men you'll face, such as those Salamandra brutes. In addition, there are 3 fighting styles that you can utilize with each sword: strong, fast, and group. The style and sword you use will correspond to the enemy you're fighting. Taking on a large bandit, Well, if you aren't using the strong style, you'll probably do little to no damage, and since he's human, you'll want to use the steel sword. Taking on a drowned dead, silver sword, and make sure to use the fast style so he doesn't dodge you. 3 or more of any enemy and you'll want to use the group style. Thankfully, you can pause the game at any time during combat to switch styles and swords, or just use the correct key bindings, as well as select items from your inventory to use. It's more than just a little useful when you're going up against a veritable horde of mutants.
You're dead.
To further add to combat, you've also got access to signs, which are a basic form of magic. There are a total of 5 signs in all, ranging from one which ignites an area in front of you on fire, another which blasts forth a gust of wind to knock enemies down for an easy execute or clear debris from your path, a shield which is perfect to buy you some time to use an item, a trap that deals damage over time to anyone who stands within it, and a mind control magic that can turn your foes into friends for a limited time. Additionally, each sign can be charged up for even greater effect.
I'll send you to your grave!
The real key to combat in The Witcher isn't so much the direct fighting, but, in many cases, the knowledge and preparation that occurs prior to the actual fight, particularly when you're going into a big boss fight. You see, one of the key facets of being a Witcher is knowledge of alchemy. With this, you can craft potions, bombs, and weapon coatings, all of which augment your performance during combat. Preparing potions that increase your endurance regeneration, which is consumed when using signs, increases your reaction time, ups your damage done, or that just plain heal you, is all key. Having bombs handy to stun or ignite your enemies is useful, and having the right weapon coating to deal more damage to the type of monster you're facing isn't a bad idea either. Depending on your difficulty setting, alchemy can be helpful or absolutely required, allowing this portion of the game to be nixed should you so desire. Just remember, in regards to potions, that they all contribute to the toxicity of your blood, preventing you from, say, chaining healing potions all the time, and killing you if your toxicity gets too high. Another way in which you can prepare is to gain knowledge about certain monsters before you fight them. Information can be gained in a number of ways, from finding the right person to talk to, which may require some sort of bribe, listening to a story, or bringing someone a glass of milk, to finding informational books scattered throughout the crates, barrels, and closets you'll find yourself rifling through, to simply buying said books off of a vendor. When you discover some information, you'll gain a journal entry that describes the monster, how it attacks, and its vulnerabilities. Perhaps more important is that you'll also learn what items can be found on a monster that have alchemical purposes. The same is true with flowers that you'll find out in the world, which also require some knowledge before you can just pick them, thus allowing you more avenues through which to gain the items you need to make more potions, bombs, and coatings the next time you head to a fire to meditate, since that's the only place you can craft anything or even spend your talent points. As you defeat monsters, you gain XP and level up, with one of the perks being the acquisition of new talent points. There are, simply put, a lot of things to spend your talent points on. Basically, there is nothing about The Witcher that is simple in this game. So when you look at this talent point screen and realize that there are 3 different levels of points, being bronze, silver, and gold, with different amounts of each unlocking at each level, a few mutagen unlockable only talents, and 15 pages that cover your more basic stat groups, your signs, and your fighting styles split by sword, you'll realize that there is a lot to it. It's really more overwhelming in appearance than in reality, because you'll find that you'll level fast enough, and, as you do, you'll gain more of the lower level talents. Still, it would be nice if I didn't have to try and max out my fighting styles twice. In many ways, The Witcher is a pretty typical RPG. Do quests, collect items, hunt for all sorts of things, and explore at your leisure. Craft and buy new items and gear, level up and gain new abilities. Probably the aspect of this game with the least depth is the gear selection, since it doesn't consist of more than a few pieces of armor and a handful of weapons that you can either buy or find on the bodies of those that thought you were easily handled. Though, to be fair, the game does depart from the more typical RPG fare in light of the alchemy system and the importance of preparation to combat. But what really sold me on this game is its choices and consequences system, one unlike anything I've ever seen attempted in another game.
I didn't pry. I had no desire to know the vagrant.
Why? He give you trouble?
Soon after he appeared, so did some bandits. He refused to go with them. A fight ensued. That witcher turned those bandits into mincemeat before I could blink.
Many games will have some lame attempt at a morality system, designating your character as a paragon or renegade based on the number of good or bad choices you make. They might even go so far as to tempt you into making a morally reprehensible decision based on the one-time shot at some rare and powerful artifact or type of magic, and then let that decision go unmentioned until you get to some kind of character recap screen at the end of the game. Not so in this game. First, the choices aren't a cut and dry good versus evil that fit nicely into some algorithm. Second, in most cases, while there is an immediate consequence, there are also plenty of lasting ones that you have no way of knowing are coming. And third, to mix things up a bit, there's that whole part where you have amnesia, and while characters from the past might talk to you about the man you were, it's up to you to be the man you want to be, which includes all kind of moral conflicts between your training as a witcher to kill monsters and the realization that sometimes the monsters aren't the ones with the scales, fangs, or wings.
I warn you, some philosophies involved.
The meaning of life, eh?
The evil that witchers fight stems from chaos, from actions aimed at disturbing order. For where evil spreads, order cannot be established. Instead of the light of wisdom, the glimmer of hope, and the glow of warmth, darkness ensues. And in darkness you find nothing but blood, fangs, and claws. Like in the outskirts.
Nicely put, but as young Cero said to King Verdank on their first date, does it have any practical uses?
The right of witchers to live and function in this world has fallen out of balance, because the struggle between good and evil now plays out on a different battlefield with different rules. Evil has ceased being chaotic. No longer a blind elemental power, evil follows rules according to the rights it's been granted. It functions in line with treaties.
That's progress. With more of us living longer, we can slaughter one another in the thousands. Progress is like a herd of pigs. The herd brings many benefits, but no one should wonder at all the shit.
Shit or no shit, witchers exist to slay monsters. How can I when the real monsters hide behind ideals, faith, or the law?
The biggest evil is moral relativity, which kills more than the Catriona plague and dragons combined. Witchers will always be needed, no matter where that pig herd leads us.
Just a few examples to drive home that point. Early in the game, you'll be tasked with killing some monsters around some supplies if you want the help of a certain individual in your quest. After doing so, an elf, and a member of the non-human rebellion, will approach you, daring to be so close to a major city where he would be killed upon sight. The supplies are for his group, and though the rebels are a potential, albeit minor, threat to humans, they are starving. I chose to help, but then discovered, several hours later, that those supplies included weapons, which were used to kill someone I needed to talk to for a quest. Another case put me face to face with a type of werewolf, and the option of killing him or leaving him be. Not only did I leave him be, but I managed to cure the curse, and, about 3 chapters later, he came to save me in a particularly bad situation. Probably the ultimate series of choices in this game revolve around the growing tension between humans and non-humans, with there being several chances for you to take sides between the two. My personal inclination was towards the humans, not due to any feeling of attachment, given the group in particular, but out of fear that the rebels were set on a path that would only result in the genocide of non-humans, rather than their freedom. An option that wasn't mirrored in the available choices of the game, though there were plenty of chances to explain yourself and further define your character, which is perhaps the key quest in this game.
I know all too well what they're after. To use the stolen secrets, Salamander needs equipment. Without it, the Witcher's mutagens are useless. They almost grabbed Kalkstein and his treasures. They almost succeeded at Kaer Morhen. almost makes a huge difference. If I had stayed and fought the Frightener with Vesemir, I might have faced a different threat today. They were here for me. I made a choice some time back.
Had you known this would happen, would you have chosen differently?
No. It was the right decision, and I'll deal with the consequences.
I'm not surprised at your answer. You don't seem like one to look back.
With as great of a game as The Witcher is, there are still some issues. It would be easy to cite the aesthetic ones, such as the dated looking graphics, the awkward motion of characters after so many games have moved to motion capture technology, or even the occasionally change in voice actors for some characters key to a chapter. But much of that I can let slide due to the fact that this game is a bit old even for me to be reviewing. And there are mods out there to take care of those graphics, one of the perks of PC gaming. Rather, my issues were technical, mainly that the game crashed on me a lot during loading screens, which there are plenty of during chapters 2 and 3, both of which take place in a city where you can enter nearly every house and search for more items, people, etc. I'm not alone in this, as I see there are plenty of forum posts about it, but it's also not an issue that everyone experiences. It's something to be aware of in case it happens to you, so that you can know what to do so that you can complete this amazing game. Just use your quick save often, particularly before zoning in and out of buildings, but then also clean out your old saves regularly, otherwise you'll end up with several gigs of saves that will just slow down the game anytime you go to load something.
You're most welcome.
Greetings.
Can I help you?
I'm here about the notice.
Yes, the wyvern meat. You have 3 pieces?
I do.
Your coin.
I started playing The Witcher on the suggestion of someone else, though I'm not sure how I ended up with the game in the first place. It is a great experience, particularly with its choice system, and I wish I had more time to play it over and over again just to see how different things would turn out as I made different choices, something that I can't say about a lot of games. Likewise, I actually want to read the novels the game is based off of, which is another rarity. I suggest getting it at $10, which is the normal price nowadays, but I've also seen it on sale many times for just $2.50, so it pays to be patient. Without anything near a 100% completion, despite my attempts to be thorough, I still managed to put over 50 hours into this game. It's also worth noting that your save file can be imported into the sequel, so I'm pretty excited to see where my version of Geralt will go from here as I complete this trilogy, one in which the first game I rate a 9 out of 10.
You traveled a long path fraught with danger. You demonstrated courage and goodness. By divine power, I hereby knight you. Face your enemies without fear. Safeguard the helpless. Never lie, even if it means your death. That is your oath. Arise a knight. Destiny will give you no rest. A long road lies ahead. I see death and blood. I see frosty chaos. Take this sword as a sign of my favor. Once the blade of a great warrior, it lay in the depths for ages, awaiting your arrival.
Milady.
Shh, Witcher. It matters not if you believe in destiny. With the blade I present you, you will complete your mission.
Thank you, milady.
Go, White Wolf, and do what must be done. May you fulfill your destiny.